What is up, ladies and gentlemen? It is another edition of Tuesdays with Turbo, and this one, I have to admit, we've been over it, but I figured, what the heck, it might be a very good time to do a refresher. I've had a lot of clients come in and ask this question, so I figured if they have this question, then I guarantee there's a lot of other people that have this question. So let's get into it. Today we are going to be talking about the PIP. Yes, that is the medical coverage on your Michigan auto policy. Now, for those of you that aren't in Michigan, probably not going to apply to you, but the vast majority of my audience is here in Michigan, so I figured, what the heck not? First of all, I hope everyone is safe from the storm that just went through this morning. That was kind of a shock to me. I was watching the news this morning, and they're like, "Yeah, there's not going to be anything major." It was major. It was major. And a quick side story, I was at the health track this morning getting some physical therapy, or was supposed to. And when the tornado warning came out, they ushered us all into our respective locker rooms, and there were some elderly gentlemen in there getting out of the shower to quite a crowd that they really weren't expecting. So that was kind of the highlight of my morning. So like I said, hopefully everyone is safe. Hopefully, if you did have damage, you've gotten in touch with your agent and they've got that claims process started for you. But let's get into the meat and potatoes of this episode. Again, we're talking about the medical coverage on your auto policy here in Michigan. So first and foremost, let's get the elephant out of the room. This is basically going to be centered around the opt-out of the PIP. So for those of you that don't know, if you've been living under a rock, July 2020, we had the no fault reform come through. Ironically enough, right when the world was changing, and so there was a lot of folks that didn't know this was going on or weren't aware. But now we've kind of gotten to the point where we're 4 years into this, and maybe it's the case that there were some folks that weren't eligible prior that are now. So for those of you that aren't able to opt out, please do me a favor and share this video, because there might be someone on your timeline or your friends list that is recently retired that can take advantage of this, or maybe want to take advantage of this but don't know how. So yeah, please share the heck out of this video, because even though it doesn't pertain to you right now, it could to one of your friends and family. So let's get into it. So what exactly am I blabbering on about? Well, like I said, the no fault reform. Prior to that, all the medical coverage on your auto was unlimited, meaning any injuries sustained in that accident, there was a $0 deductible. Everything was taken care of by your auto insurance. Now that caused some controversy, because a lot of folks were like, our auto insurance is way too expensive, which ours is. Here in Michigan, we do pay the most in auto insurance out of the whole entire country. However, we're the only ones that offer this type of coverage, or at least prior to the reform, it was mandated, which was the big deal. Now, since the reform, we have options. We're not just strictly limited to unlimited. That sounded weird, but it came out right. If you aren't able to opt out, there's different cap numbers you can choose. However, in my opinion, there really isn't a premium difference to make it worthwhile. A lot of times we're seeing the biggest price differences or premium differences if you are on Medicare, if you are carrying Part A and B, and you can opt out and let Medicare take care of all of your medical expenses if you are in an accident. Now, when this came down, I was rather hesitant to suggest this to my clients, because prior to July 2020, we couldn't even list Medicare as a primary medical payer, kind of like a Blue Cross Blue Shield or something like that. So now they wouldn't even let us list it as a primary. Now you're trying to tell me that they're okay with just taking over all the payments. Like, yep, nope, we got it. Don't worry about it. So yeah, it was kind of a head scratcher, but now that there's, we're 4 years into this. um I, I I this is kind of the scenario I give my clients, because there isn't a right or wrong answer to this. This is completely personal. It is completely your choice. There is no wrong answers. So if you think about it this way, if you do go unlimited, you're kind of paying for that coverage up front. Okay? So you're being more proactive rather than reactive. Now, if you do decide to opt out, keep this in mind. Keep this in mind. And like I said, to be eligible to opt out of the medical coverage on your auto policy here in Michigan, you do need to carry Medicare Part A and B. Now, the likelihood of most people, I would say the vast majority who have Part A also have Part B. So that's not a big deal. So that's requirement number one. Requirement number two is every time your auto policy renews, you have to sign a form. You have to sign a form saying I agree to opt out, and sometimes we need updated copies of your Medicare card. So that's an added just hassle, an added let's call it a responsibility. It's an added responsibility that you as the client say, okay, I want to opt out of this. I want to just let Medicare take care of it, because heck, I'm already paying for Medicare anyway. Why should I pay twice? And that's a very, very good question. Why should you pay twice? Now, my answer to that is, well, even though you're paying for Medicare, Medicare also has deductibles, copays, things of that nature that have, out of pockets that have to be reached before everything is paid for in full. So when you're kind of weighing your options, and I had a client in my office a few weeks ago that I gave him, they came in to review their policies, which commend everyone that's done that lately. I think that's absolutely been amazing, because I haven't written all the policies here at the agency, so it's getting me a chance to not only meet the clients, but to also kind of see where they're at, what coverages they have, so that I can help better understand their situation. So we sat down, and I gave him the price difference from unlimited to opting out. And he's scratching his head, and I brought up the fact that, you know, your Medicare, you're still paying your deductibles, you're still paying your copays. So if something were to happen, would this savings kind of negate that? And he looked at me and he goes, well, and I said, let me take it one step further. God forbid something happens this winter, kind of the November time frame. And then not only would your deductibles have to be met for 2024, but once everything resets in 2025, you're looking at a whole number of other things that are other expenses that, if we would stay unlimited, would be zero out of pocket. And we do have a comment from my colleague here, Matthew. He says, Medicare large gaps in coverage, covered services involving auto accident injuries. That's very true, Matt. Very, very true. And that's one of the main things why, when this first came out, is I'm not exactly sure what Medicare covers. And that's still kind of true to this day. But like I said, it comes down to personal preference. It comes down to your financial situation. Like I said, is there a wrong answer? No. But me being me, and looking even at my situation, me and my family are on unlimited, because it's one thing I don't want to have to worry about. It, because if you break it down to kind of the most simplistic thing, is that your life could change in the matter of a second when you're driving down the road. In the matter of seconds, your life could be utterly changed forever. And not only is it changed, but if you have these large medical expenses hanging over your head for years and years and years, like I said, one is proactive, the other, in my opinion, is reactive. And there's folks that, if they can pay out of pocket for a lot of things that I can't, which is why I choose to be, insured the way that I am. Your situation might be completely different. You might actually have, other supplemental coverages that you purchase alongside of Medicare that might help bridge some of those gaps. And if that's the case, perfectly fine. Perfectly fine. Just make sure you do your homework and make sure that you know what your deductibles are. You know what your copays are. You know to a T. I'm not saying for every injury, of course, but at least get to know exactly what you're covered for, and if there's any holes, what can we do to fill them? Because that's ultimately where we're at. With the unlimited, there's zero holes, zero holes. Now, some companies do offer a larger deductible when it does come to the unlimited, but the companies that I work with here at Abbott and Powers, all of them are a $0 deductible. Okay, so no matter what health insurance I have outside of my auto insurance, they're not even tapped. They're not even taxed. It's completely two separate things, two entities living on their own, and one doesn't have to rely on the other. And as you can probably tell, if one is relying on the other, the likelihood of them actually playing nice and make sure everything's taken care of and you're not getting, notices of medical bills due, and collection notices because company A and company B aren't getting along and they're arguing over who's going to pay what. To me, that's not worth it. To me, that's not worth it. Again, your life is already in the event of an accident is changed in the matter of seconds. Now you're talking about your financial future being in flux for the next how many years because of these finite seconds. And I know it's not, the happiest thing in the world to talk about, but this is heavy stuff. This is heavy stuff. I was in the ER probably 4 years ago for 3 days, and my total bill was $25,000. Luckily, my this was not auto accident. It wasn't caused by an auto accident, but 3 days, $25,000. Luckily, my health insurance picked up the vast majority of it. But just to kind of give you an idea what some of this stuff costs. So, like I said, there is no right or wrong answer. It is situational dependent. It is your situation dependent. It's not mine. It's yours. What does your financial situation look like? What does your like I mentioned, if you are opting out, are you carrying any supplements or additional insurance that would kind of fill in some of those holes? And if you're not, that might be something you want to look into. But to me, it's just easier. It's out of sight, out of mind. And I have the knowledge and the security that if me or any other member of my family are injured in an auto accident, we wouldn't have to worry about a medical bill one. So yes, we do choose the higher. Of course, I'm not of Medicare age quite yet, so I'm not able to opt out. But even when it comes down to it, I think if this still is the way it's going to go when I do decide to retire, I think I'm going to keep it the same way. I think I'm going to keep it the same way just for the peace of mind. Just for the peace of mind. So that's kind of my spiel about the PIP when it does come to opting out. Like I said, for the rest of us that aren't able to opt out, if you are interested in some of the other, there's a $500,000 cap on medical expenses. There's a $250,000 cap on medical expenses. Anything after that, your primary health insurance would pick up. And yet again, I want to remind you when it comes to these, the savings isn't, in my opinion, is not worth it. However, I've said it many times on this channel. I try not to shop with other people's pocketbooks, but when it's $5 or $6 a month difference to go from unlimited to $250, but then again, every situation is different. My situation is not yours, and vice versa. Now, keep in mind too, when you do choose one of these caps, okay, once the cap is exhausted, that now goes to your primary health insurance. There's a start of a whole new claim with them, and anytime there's a, when you access that, you're still uh, subject to your deductible, because like I said, the auto insurance and the health insurance work independently from each other. Okay, so even though you have $250,000 worth of medical bills over here with your auto insurance, once that is exhausted, we start a whole other claim over here with your health insurance. So now all of your deductibles, copays, if your out of pocket hasn't been reached, that kicks in. And then, like I said, if it's like the November time, and once that calendar turns to January 1st, you have to go ahead and pay those again. So kind of keep that in mind as we maneuver through this health, or the medical portion of the Michigan auto policy. This is something that I have a feeling, if the Michigan Insurance Board had it to do over again, this is something they would just kind of kick to the side, because not only is it's gotten extremely more confusing for you, the client. It's also getting more confusing for us. It's causing more legwork for us. It is causing it's more turmoil than what I think they were initially aiming for. And on top of that, everyone was just expecting our auto insurance to be cut in half. Well, that is not the case. It never has been the case. So like I said, the initial goal was to offer people options, make things more affordable. The only time it's really been more affordable is when you're able to opt out. And now, like I said, 4 years into this process, we're not really seeing a massive savings by opting out. So kind of keep that in mind as you move forward. If you have any questions with this, please feel free to reach out to your agent. If you have any questions that you would like me to answer, or at least to try, you can comment right here on this video. You can shoot me a Facebook message. Here's the number for the office here in Marcellus, and this is my email address. So I'll give you a second for that. And that has been our kind of quick down and dirty talk about the PIP, or the medical coverage on your auto policy here in Michigan. Like I said, I have a feeling if we could go into a time machine and tell the lawmakers what the ultimate outcome of this was, I have a feeling that we would have just kept it as is. And yes, is it expensive? Sure. But it is an extremely powerful option that we have to help kind of take some of the uncertainty out of a very serious situation, a very life-changing situation, like I said, that could happen and change your life in the matter of seconds. So it's a very, very powerful coverage to have, and I'm actually thankful that we are able to offer that here in Michigan, because medical bills should not be that much of a burden on people, especially if you're in an auto accident and it might not even be your fault. So kind of keep that in mind. Like I said, any questions, please feel free to let me know. That is what I'm here for, and I will see each and every one of you next week. But before, like I said, if the PIP, the opt-out, is not, you're not ready for that, please share this video, because I guarantee there's a family member or friend on your timeline that will need this or might have the same questions. So I will see each and every one of you next week, and I will, everyone have a great week, stay safe, and I will see you next time.